Alrighty, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for today's session of Stronger Together, focusing on businesses helping businesses in downtown Marietta. My name is Christy Thomas. I am the Executive Director of Marietta Main Street. And before we kick things off, I'd like to just share a few notes. First, this session is being recorded and it will be made available for review after the meeting. You may choose to keep your video on or off. That's completely up to you, but I do ask that everyone mute their microphone before and after any questions. A presentation will be shown courtesy of our speakers. You can either raise your hand or you can type a question directly into the chat box, and I'll be monitoring that throughout the session. This program is put forward thanks to our Economic Vitality Committee. Marietta Main Street is a nonprofit and we rely abundantly on our awesome volunteers. And so if anybody is interested in joining your committee or learning how they can become more engaged with our organization, do not hesitate at all to put your hand up and let me know. Now for today's session, Human Resources and Team Management, presented by Amanda and Lexi of Perry & Associates. I'm super excited to hear what they have to say. I know they have a tremendous amount of knowledge and experience to share with us. And so without further ado, I will hand it over to the two of you.
Thank you, Christy. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I know human resources is not the most exciting topic, but we're going to try to make it fun for you guys today. Our topic today is human resources and team management and how they go well together and are hand in hand essentially in effective business and staff team management and resources. And our first section is related to human resources. Lexi will start us out, but a little bit about us before we get started. We were established in 1974 here in Marietta, Ohio, and since then have grown to 5 locations throughout the Mid Ohio Valley and the Ohio Valley regions. We have offices in Marietta, Cambridge, St. Clairsville, Vienna, and Wheeling. Plenty of places to serve our clients and those new that we wish to acquire. So it's exciting for us because we are still continuing to grow and bloom despite the year of 2020, the year of COVID. And so we are much more than a simple tax prep firm. We've grown to be a full service, very dynamic public accounting firm, everything from accounting, taxes, bookkeeping, the basics, to audits and governmental regulated other A&A audit and attest services. We have a great staff here. We really love our staff and we really invest in our staff today because we believe that's where it's at. So this is Lexi, our Human Resource Coordinator, and I'm the Director of Market Development Relations. I was born in Perry County and raised there, graduating from Miller High School. I've moved around all over the East Coast, essentially, through different zip codes. And I have been with the firm on and off since about 2011 in very different capacities. I enjoy every asset and everything we've acquired here. It's a very multifaceted firm to work for. Most people think an accounting firm is boring, but there's never a dull moment here. So, and then Lexi, born and raised here in Marietta, Ohio. She has a degree from Washington State Community College, and we are so thankful to have her here with us, and I'll let her elaborate on that more.
All right, so I've been here about 1.5 years now, and I started out as an administrative assistant for our HR department, and I am now the human resources coordinator, so I take on a little more task than just an admin. So they kind of switched me into this role and I absolutely love it. I'm still really new to it. But in the year I've been here, I've acquired a certification as an I don't know my title, as a assistant I don't know, something, human resources. I have a certificate. I don't know what it's called. But I really enjoy it and I'm excited to see what the future holds for me here.
We're so very grateful to have her. And actually the human resources department was pretty well non-existent other than just the basics of, you know, the initial paperwork and whatnot. So to have her pretty much running the whole department, it's amazing. I'm so thankful. So Lexi, I'll let you talk a little bit more about human resources in detail.
All right, so I'll try to go through it fairly quick because it's not super interesting stuff. But human resources is responsible for the people of the workplace. So we try to really make sure our people are taken care of and have what they need.
Wrong one. Bear with us 1 second. I'm so sorry. Email. Sorry, 1 second. Showing there though. There we go.
Okay, there we go. All right, so human resources is responsible for recruitment and retention of employees. So that involves job postings, job career fairs with colleges, businesses, different things, sifting through resumes, doing the interview process. So typically, specifically for us, we do a phone interview. So I just do basic screening questions just to make sure they're kind of what we're looking for, so we don't waste precious time of our managers. And then we do like in-person interviews, and then we go through the hiring process. So we go through and we see what we want to offer them. And then we go to the hiring process and the onboarding. So when we get an employee, I go through all the insurance and our policy and all that stuff, getting IT sorted out. And then I send them off and make sure they're getting the right training from the right department and what they need. So then human resources also gets in or begins the learning and development. So learning and development and pay and reward go hand in hand. They are a huge part of the retention of employees. So as an HR, we want to make sure that employees are getting the proper training in their position, the right education, continuing education, and making sure they're developing in ways that they should, moving up in their position, setting realistic goals for them. Because if people are not happy with their progress or not making any progress, they tend not to perform in their job and usually look for a different direction for their career. And then with that, employees that are making progress, you want to make sure they are being paid right, rewarded. So, you know, raises, bonuses, extra vacation, because you want to make sure that they feel like they're being treated right. We'll go, just click, right? Okay. All right. So you want to define a clear purpose and goals for each team and team member. So the way you can do that is clear job descriptions, which we're currently revamping our job descriptions to make them more clear. And then going through the strengths assessment, which I think Amanda's going to go into more detail with that. So we typically do a strengths assessment when we are thinking about hiring somebody or we want to hire somebody, just to see what their strengths are. And then clear goal setting. You want to make sure you're setting clear, realistic goals. You don't want to set goals that are not realistic, because you just get disappointed. So clear goal setting is really good, and good communication. Communication is key. And then a clear evaluation process. So the way we evaluate is, we call it MOP, so measurements of performance. So for us, it's like essential duties. So client services, technical services, firm focus, people focus. So we break that down, and then like for us, we have billing rate, utilization rate, and then continuing education. Those are just some things that we, what did I click? Did I go too far?
You might have.
Oh, I'm still back. There we go. All right. So I'll get into like measurement of performance for a minute, which we call it MOP here. So the way to do that is clear measures from their job description. That way they can't say when they're being evaluated, I didn't know I was being evaluated on how I treat clients, or I didn't know I was being evaluated on how I did this audit. So we try to make it sure it's really clear, so there can be no questions asked. And then it's very important to discuss measurements of performance in each evaluation. Just making sure it's there. There's clear communication between the manager and the employee, and it's just a really good way to see how their performance is going. And then rewards. So we talked about that a little bit too. So pay for outstanding, tremendous work, bonuses, extra vacation, take them out for lunch. I mean, just different things. You can just show that they're appreciated and they're doing a really good job. Because when you reward for hard work, that retains your good employees. And then my last slide is just some quotes. So train people well enough so they can leave, treat them well enough so they don't want to. I really like that because you want to train them so well that they can go and do better, but we want them to stay here. So treat them the way you would want to be treated to stay. And then I really like this one too. You don't build a business, you build people, and then people build your business. And in our business, there's so much truth to that because, you know, we have tax and audit and we are with clients all the time. And the people that we have that talk with our clients is what makes our business. So it's really important. And if human resource functions are effective and doing what they're supposed to do, it really promotes phenomenal team management. That's what I have for my part.
It sure does. I agree with that 100%. And another thing I've noticed over the years is that people really do help support what they help to build. So if they're involved in the process of building the processes and the way things work here and within their department, then they're more willing to support it and be full on with it. So I agree 100%. Thanks, Lexi. All right. So team management, again, goes kind of hand in hand with human resources. An ability of an organization to administer and coordinate a group of individuals to effectively perform a task or a project. That is the definition of team management. And we have learned over the years here that that is probably the best place to put all of our time and effort into is team management and our people. Some of what team management looks like, a little bit of everything. And this all has to kind of go together. You can't have one without the other. You can, but it won't be as effective. So with team management, we feel training, communication, motivation, feedback, transparency, delegation, reward, and flexibility is huge. And so we're investing in our people so we have a better team and better team management overall. So we believe that our services and our output are only as good as our people. We recently, within the last couple of years, have revamped our strategic plan internally, which we're living by and we're living out every day. We have 4 core values here, which are family, learning, accountability, and trust. Those are huge, huge values for us here. And it supports our people more so than the work. Our work is just as important, but our people are what drive the work and create and present the work to our clients and give our clients outstanding service, which is what we're about. So we also, our purpose is to use our strengths to impact the world with good. And that is locally in our communities that we're in each of the 5 offices, and then globally as well. We try to help out as much as we can where we can. I mean, in a perfect world, we'd give to every organization, every charity, and help everyone that we could. But not in that world, unfortunately. So we've taken a different approach and looked at things different. As far as management goes, we are, like I said, focused more on the people. So we're focused on their strengths and helping them succeed within the firm, which is a win-win for both of us in the long run. So some of what strengths-based management is it comes from the Gallup-Clifton Strengths Assessment. And if you're not familiar with that yourself or within your business, I do recommend that you kind of look into it, and it's amazing. We've learned a whole lot. I think it was 2018 we first started looking into this, and we had just our managers do it and upper level staff. But since then, like Lexi had mentioned, we are incorporating that from day one, from the interview, essentially. If it's someone that we're interested in, think would be a good fit, we want to see what kind of strengths they have and bring to the table naturally, and then help them develop that and shape that. And there are 4 categories with the strengths-based approach. You have your executing, influencing, relationship building, and strategic thinking. And each one is very important in itself. putting them together makes it that much more great and more successful in shaping people and helping them build and grow here with us. So here are Lexi and I, we took the test when we first started, and our top 5 themes, mine is empathy, responsibility, developer, harmony, and input. Now those 5 strengths, those are my top 5, and 3 of those fall under the relationship category, which is a lot of the empathy and relationship building, developing strengths, within client relationships, not just client relationships, but internally as well. And then Lexi has her top 5: responsibility, developer, learner, achiever, and consistency. And it's very interesting, actually, when you start reading more in depth of which these are, because she and I both share responsibility as a strength. However, when you read our in-depth report and details on that, it is actually in a different capacity, a different manner, even though it's the same theme. She, with her other strengths, helping her with that strength, it kind of changes just a bit, just because of our internal natural strengths we already have. It's very interesting and insightful. It also helps us better lead our teams, gives us a little bit more insights as to what drives them in their performance, what drives them in their day-to-day, keeping them interested. And that way we also have the right person in the right role, which is huge. We don't want someone in here that's just not interested in that area, or that's not where their strengths are, because that sets us all back in the long run. So it's a very interesting concept. There's science behind it, and there's a history. It's been around for a while. I myself, not too long ago, went to a seminar in Columbus about the Clifton strengths and what you could do beyond this. This is just the surface of what you can do with building your teams, driving them in their performance, and helping them grow and succeed. So that's really all we have today. We could get a lot more in depth because there's a lot more to that, but that's just kind of an overview of where we are with our human resources and team management approach. We're all about the people, supporting them, they'll support us, and together we could be a great team and thrive and be a successful business overall. And that's all we have for you today. If you have any questions, we'd be glad to answer them.
Thanks. Does anyone have any questions for Amanda, or go ahead, Dwayne?
Yeah, thanks, guys, for that insightful presentation. So you mentioned continuing education. That's one of the things that you value for your employees. What kind of examples of that do you get into?
So since we are an accounting firm, since we do governmental audits, our audit department is required to have 80 hours of continuing education for every 2 years. So we have certain guidelines that they have to do. So they have to do accounting. I don't really get into depth of it, but I just track it. They have so many different ethics. They have so many different things that standard-wise we have to do for their governmental audits that they do. But we kind of set the standard for all of our employees based on department. They have to have so many hours of just studying. Like for myself, I have to keep up on laws, regulations, different things like that. So I have a set amount of hours. I have to do 15 hours a year of just extra courses and different things. So every department's different for us. I mean, not all companies require it or need it, but for us, it's a very important part, just to make sure everybody's up to date on standards and codes and all that stuff.
Right. That makes sense. Yep. Thanks. I had one follow-up question, if that's okay.
Yep.
So it sounds like you guys have done a lot of work on establishing a really good culture there. Mm-hmm. I guess, can you share any specific things that you do to really drive that culture? I know you mentioned a few things, just showing appreciation and that kind of thing. And then I guess if you run into a situation where maybe someone's not lining up with the culture that you want, how do you deal with that?
As with any business, you're going to have upsets between staff, no matter how hard you strive to avoid those. And with our strengths-based approach and trying to be a team and family being one of our core values, we strive for that. However, It's not 100%. Nothing is. But some of the ways we do try to keep everybody in the loop is we have an intranet kind of program where it's similar to Facebook, but it's internal. So we share out, we keep them in the know. And that way we're all on the same page. Communication was one of the biggest key components to all of it, I think, for us, just between departments. We have a lot of clients and services we provide that cross service lines. So we might have an audit client that we also do their monthly books for. So it's huge to have that communication between departments. So that intranet has helped out with that significantly. And then just really sending out surveys to our staff. You know, what do you need? How are you struggling? Especially during COVID, that was really hard. We had never in our tax department been a remote type firm. And so that was very challenging for us to overcome that. But I found that just treating them like family, being open, communicating, saying, what do you need? Let us help you. Throughout that whole thing made that transition a lot easier than it would have been without that. Technology's helped out, even though we still struggle a little bit with it. It's definitely helped out with that transition and keeping the people in the know, which seems to be very huge for them. And then just appreciating their hard work and for sticking with us. And we do different events too. We're going to have a employee appreciation event coming up here soon where we're going to do an outdoor movie night, or, you know, events in the community, offering them tickets to get out to that. People's Bank Theater, we've done that with them too, offering our staff tickets to go to see concerts and whatnot, just as an appreciation type thing. And really just trying to help them, hold their hand and help them get through this and be there for them.
Great. Yep. That sounds good. Thanks a lot.
So I have a question for you.
Okay.
So as you know, a lot of our downtown businesses are much smaller than Perry and Associates. So say you have just like 5 or so folks on your staff, maybe even less than that. What tips or advice would you offer to them if they don't have staff solely dedicated to human resources, for example? It's just 1 or 2 people running the whole show. How can they strengthen their team management, or, like you had said, lean into a strengths-based, you know, HR strategy? What advice might you have on little things that folks might be able to consider adding to their work culture, even if they're teeny tiny?
I think for me, the biggest thing would be just having that a true structured hiring onboarding process. When I first started at Perry & Associates, we didn't have that. We had, you know, the basic traditional onboarding, the paperwork part of it, but we didn't have per se, you know, a welcome basket or a process of once you get through the paperwork, you know, you go and meet everyone in the firm and you different offices, know where they're at, visit them. And so having that in place, it doesn't have to even be elaborate, but just a process that is followed the same way every time. I think consistency is big when it comes to that as well. And just give them the information they need to know up front. I don't think it has to be, like I said, elaborate or anything big to do it. Yes, we are a little bit bigger, but we didn't have any of this before. So it's definitely helped. Even in our smaller offices, our other offices have 3 to 5 employees in them. So it's not quite as big as here in Marietta. So that's kind of, I can relate to that, the smaller business with those offices being smaller, and it's still the same thing, just consistency.
Yeah, I think a lot of times, especially right now, getting people to work is hard. And a lot of retail shops and things, you know, just be careful on who you hire. I mean, I know you need people and you just hire to hire, but really try to sift through what you can. I know it's hard right now getting people to work. I mean, we're struggling with it in our profession. So I can imagine how it is in food or in clothing businesses. But just try to really be mindful because eventually the right person's going to come. So wait it out, you know, don't just hire, because you go through all this process of hiring and getting people situated in the business and then they leave, and it's struggling, irritating. I don't know. It's like everything in one, but just really, you know, think about what you're doing.
And if any of the downtown businesses ever needed, you know, to reach out to us to ask questions like that or get insight from us or ask us if there are other resources out there, we'd be more than willing to help out. Definitely.
That's a wonderful offer. And I think that's great advice. That's awesome. Are there any other questions? Alrighty, well, I'm going to close us out. Thank you so much for coming today. This recording will be made available soon, hopefully this week. And then next month, we will have Whitney with 740 Social talking about how to theme your business for the seasons and for the holidays and really embrace that seasonal decor, just displays, employee engagement, things along those lines. And then after that, we'll actually have Laura from Wit & Whimsy talking about storefront care and maintenance, just like the facade of your business and how to make sure we're paying just as much attention to the outside as we are on the inside. So I'm excited to hear from those two folks. Thank you all so much. Like Amanda had shared, if anyone has any questions further about HR and team management, I know Perry & Associates would be more than happy to lend a helping hand to any of our downtown businesses. So thank you all so much for joining us today, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Thank you, Christy. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you,
Have a great day.
Have a great day. Bye.
Bye.